Hi, you are listening to the Paul McGUIRE Report, and I'm Paul McGUIRE. All the DEWs, the directed energy weapons that vaporize buildings and cars on the Earth from helicopters or jets or satellites mysteriously, these are, many people say, DEWs, directed energy weapons, and the frequency that they operate in is the frequency that causes heart attacks, diseases, melts car, burns buildings, burns houses, generates artificial firestorms, and can even potentially generate earthquakes and tsunamis. So, are the accusators, do they have a valid challenge when they say that the real purpose of 5G has nothing to do with connectivity? It has to do with weaponization and the subterfuge of 5G technology. I don't know what the answer is. This information just came out a week ago. I have in my books at paulmcguire.us, I started writing about 5G technology, directed energy weapons, and all the rest of this stuff. I've been on this trail for 30 years. And there are some very dark people in our world. The puppet masters who seek to control the human race as if the human race were mere puppets. And these puppet masters are in the process of taking over planet Earth through weaponized technologies. And their end game, through the science of transhumanism, is to create a genetically engineered synthetic human being known as a synth, S-Y-N-T-H, a synthetic human being. And it's a synthetic human being because it doesn't have 100% human DNA. And then the purpose of creating transhumanist non-human entities, the purpose of creating artificial humans or synths, the purpose of creating a synthetic human race in which the non-human entities created, because there's no human DNA in the creation of these entities. And when you have what could be called a technological hybrid or a Nephilim-Rephaim hybrid, you have what's known as interspecies breeding, and you create a Nephilim or a Rephaim. And interspecies breeding is when you create a counterfeit human being who has no soul. And this counterfeit human being is soulless. Now, right then and there, I write about it in my book, like A Prophecy of the Future of America, Volume 1 and 2. I write about it in my book, Power from On High. I write about it in my book, The Greatest Battle for the Hearts and Minds of Mankind in the History of the World. And I point out that when you create synthetic human beings, which is what happened in the days of Noah right before the flood, you're creating soulless, fallen angel hybrid entities. when an entity is soulless, it cannot ever enter the kingdom of heaven. It cannot ever be saved. It cannot ever have its sins forgiven by the blood of Jesus Christ. It can never be born again, and the Spirit of God can never take up residence in a hybrid human being. So, the transhumanists want to create a new race of non-human DNA hybrid human beings that are totally soulless. And the reason they want to create totally soulless non-human entities is because Satan or Lucifer, or the people who are following Lucifer and following the fallen angels, all of those people collectively want to create an artificial race of synthetic human beings so that they can totally dominate, totally control a pseudo-human race. So that's what this is all about. This is far, far more than merely radical population reduction via Malthusian theories of, panic, we're going to have 7 billion people on planet Earth. The only way we can make planet Earth sustainable, according to the United Nations and the transhumanists, is to wipe out immediately billions and billions of people from planet Earth through biological diseases, bioweapons, nuclear wars, hybrids, transhumanism, and a whole arsenal of weaponized brand new technologies. That's their end game. And all the leaders of the transhumanist movement, they say among themselves that they're going to do this by any means necessary. So they're in the process of wiping out the human race and creating a soulless, entirely new non-human race. Why? Once again, it's Satan's number one goal. And Satan, of course, is the fallen angel who was leading an open rebellion with the fallen angels, with the demons, with the principalities and powers, and with all the men and women who have sold their souls to Satan. Satan is leading an all-out rebellion against all of God's creation, specifically human beings. And Satan wants to overthrow the throne room of God in the rebuilt temple in Jerusalem. Satan wants to eject Jesus Christ out of his rightful seat sitting on the throne room of God. And Satan wants to install himself as the counterfeit Christ, the Antichrist, along with the help of the false prophet. And in order to do this, it's like a cosmic chess game. In order to do this, Satan or Lucifer needs to create a totally non-human human race that is soulless. Because the only way Satan can gain total control of all the humans on planet Earth, the only way Satan can bring in his new world order consisting of a one world government, a one world religion, and a one world economic system, and a mark of the beast technology where you can't buy or sell unless you receive the mark of the beast. The only way that Satan can achieve this goal is to make sure that he populates planet Earth with billions of counterfeit and soulless human beings that no longer have authentically human DNA. That's the game plan. And so everything we're seeing happening in our world now, every perversion, every violence, every satanic, demonic thing that is coming to the surface in our society, world, and culture now, no matter how hideous it is, no matter how monstrous it is, no matter how wicked it is, like Ray Bradbury portrayed in his sci-fi novel, Something Wicked Comes This Way. Well, something wicked comes this way for the human race. And we are in the time period known as the end of days, the last days. And the world is right on the precipice of flipping into a satanically dominated Great Reset, formerly known as the One World Government, One World Religion, and One World Economic System. And pivotal to this revolution is that Satan is using men, weaponized science, weaponized technology to create in secret laboratories all around the world a completely new non-human race of demonic entities who are going to rule the world as proxies for Satan. And you and I were called for such a time as this. You and I have been given the power to transform the world. Now, I'm trying to get this message out as fast as I possibly can, and I need your help. I need you to go to paulmcguire.us, that's paulmcguire.us, and I need you to electronically follow, electronically like the Paul McGUIRE Report on whatever social media page you watch or listen to me on. That destroys the rigging system. That destroys the computer algorithms that are the equivalent of like rigging a political race. And then I need you to ask the God that you believe in and that I believe in, because we believe that he communicates to us if we simply will ask him and simply ask God, God, how much would you have me give Paul McGUIRE and Paul McGUIRE Ministries and Paradise Mountain Church in terms of a financial gift, a donation or contribution? And whatever God puts on your heart to give, obey him. And then become a prayer warrior for what we're doing and be activists for what we're doing. And if we unite together, we can change this world while there is still time. Now, there's a four-letter word in this. I don't know what to do about it. It's around, well, it's around at the time period 48 seconds in to this video where a man confronts Klaus Schwab during a Davos meeting. And he uses a four-letter word. But I wanted you to hear this, not because I want to expose you to four-letter words. I wanted you to hear this because under the media propaganda machine, you would think that everybody is just, ecstatic about the Great Reset and Klaus Schwab. But that's not the case. Secretly, millions of people know how Frankensteinish, how monstrous this thing is. Secretly, people know how evil it is, and they hate it and they despise it. So I'm going to play this clip of this guy. Hopefully, we'll be able to edit it out. But but by some reason, I failed to edit it out. Okay, I need you to forgive me, and I need you to understand I didn't put it in intentionally. I just tried to get it in there, because it's important that you hear the level of opposition that these monsters have. So I'm trying to edit out the F word, because the guy dresses down all the globalists in the Davos meeting. And then the guy takes on Klaus Schwab and uses the F word on him. And quite frankly, it's not inappropriate. I mean, I don't think it's something we want to expose our children to, and I don't think it's something we want to resort to on a regular basis, but there is such thing as righteous anger. And this man is rightfully angry over this Hitlerian conspiracy that these globalists and Klaus Schwab are organizing. So let's listen to what he says. And again, forgive me if I missed the ability to remove it.
And I appreciate the World Economic Forum.
A video circulates on the internet featuring Damon Imani hurling abuses at Klaus Schwab during the 2024 Davos meeting. The video features visuals of Schwab from the 54th annual meeting of the World Economic Forum at Davos, held on January 16, 2024. The clip shows the speaker shouting profanities and then shows Schwab exiting the stage.
And I appreciate the World Economic Forum providing me the opportunity to be on this stage and say, you Klaus Schwab and your world order. We the people were born free, we will stay free, and you and all of your globalist friends, including everyone in this room, can go yourself.
Okay, good. We were able to have it beeped out. The man was dressed impeccably with suit and tie, an intelligent man. He was invited by the World Economic Forum at Davos to stand at the podium and deliver his remarks in a short speech to all these high-rolling, disgusting globalists that are full of themselves and drunk in their own power. And so what they do, these globalists and Schwab, is they all stand up as this man is taking them on and calling them what they are, essentially. And they stand up and they begin to walk out. You can tell that their pride has been stepped on. Their pride has been stepped on by the truth that this man spoke to power. Now, I'm not advocating that we go around and use four-letter words everywhere we go. But I'm saying it is important to speak truth to power. And if you don't like how this man did it, and he spoke to thousands of globalists, at the Davos meeting for the World Economic Forum, this man was speaking to the rulers of the world. And they need to be told that they're out of line. And they need to be told to back down. And they need to be confronted with the truth. And they need to be told, reminded, they already know, they need to be reminded of the astronomical amount of suffering, hardship, cruelty, starvation, war, disease, and monstrous activities that are going to drown the human race in endless sorrows. I mean, that's what's at stake here. These people are monsters. They're like Adolf Hitler. They're not nice people. They worship Satan. If not overtly, they worship Satan covertly by embracing a belief system of total selfishness and total pride and total ego, in which they believe that they are the superior human beings on planet Earth, and they alone have been given the power to rule over us, the common man and common woman. And that rulership that they have illegally stolen for themselves manifests itself in all kinds of evil ways, like giving people certain technologies which causes them to die and be infertile and starve to death, that will cause the collapse of economies around the world, that will send globalist UN armed troops into U.S. cities, that will access these electromagnetic frequency directed energy weapons to disintegrate human beings into piles of dust while they're walking and standing there innocently. Something wicked comes this way. You need to read about it in my books. You need to be informed. You can't go into the mental block zone of reassuring yourself with lies. It can't happen here. That's what the Jews said when they were being marched to the gas chambers and the concentration camps of Adolf Hitler and the Nazis. They repeated them to themselves, it can't happen here. Well, guess what? It did happen there. And we can't say it can't happen here because it is happening here. We have to come to grips with a basic truth that we have forgotten because we've rejected the basic truth of the Bible. Once upon a time in America, when people feared God and read the Word of God, the average person knew that there was such thing as evil. The average person knew that there was a moral right and a moral wrong. And the average person knew that unless you constrain evil legally and lawfully, you will unleash the forces of evil. You will unleash the forces of the demonic in your world, nation, and society. And once you unleash the forces of the demonic in your society, they will prey upon your children, like in sex trafficking and the unspeakable cruelty and torture and sadism that goes along with it, and all the other things. So what that man said, these people, I looked at their faces as they sat there in Davos. They were filled with pride. You could tell they perceived themselves as higher up on the evolutionary scale than you and I. That they were the the gods, lowercase g, that they alone were the gods, but they're not the gods. You and I know that. There's only one God, capital G, Jesus Christ, who's Lord of Lords and King of Kings. And only one entity or one God in the universe has the right to decide who could live and who could die. And that is God Almighty alone, the Supreme Being. Because God alone He's love. God is love. And everything He does comes from a place of love. And sometimes love is tough. Sometimes love is in your face. And sometimes, because there aren't a whole lot of Christians doing it, and they should be doing it, and if you don't like His style of doing it, then before you criticize Him, let your actions be such that you criticize, you challenge, and you confront in a style that you are more comfortable with. But don't think for a moment that you're going to get off and excuse yourself before God and excuse your apathy before Almighty God by pleading, well, the guy, used the F word, and I'm too holy for that. What do you think God thinks? Do you think God is on the side of a man who however imperfectly, risked all to dress down evil globalists, and probably due to his lack of experience he used the F word? Is God angry at him? Or is God angry at men and women who are trained, eloquent speakers like pastors and professional speakers, and yet never raise their voice above the ambient noise level, never speak out for truth and righteousness and the things that are dear to the heart of God? We have a job to do, and so we must do it. Time is running out. I want to play this one more time. This is real. These people have tanks, technology, genetic engineering. They have weapons that you wouldn't believe are true. And most of all, their ultimate end game is to use genetic engineering and science fiction-like sciences to genetically transform men and women into a non-human entity. They want to use their knowledge and wisdom of genetics to recreate men and women as literal cyborgs or robots or clones. The goal of the Great Reset is to genetically engineer men and women so that they will become the slaves and the cyborgs of the World Economic Forum. What the World Economic Forum is really looking for is they want to genetically engineer a race of billions of slaves who will slave for them in horrible toil like the Jewish slaves slave for the Pharaoh god kings. That's what it's about. It's not any more complex than that. That's what this is all about. Satan wants to be God. Satan is raising up these men and allowing them to use their technology to create a slave race of cyborgs. Cyborgs are non-human entities with no soul, with no intuition, not made in the image of God. They're cyborgs. They're non-human, synthetic human beings. And we need to rise to the occasion that God has called us to in this final hour in human history. So let's play this again.
The World Economic Forum. The World Economic Forum.
A video circulates on the internet featuring Damon Imani hurling abuses at Klaus Schwab during the 2024 Davos meeting. The video features visuals of Schwab from the 54th annual meeting of the World Economic Forum at Davos, held on January 16, 2024. The clip shows the speaker shouting profanities and then shows Schwab exiting the stage.
And I appreciate the World Economic Forum providing me the opportunity to be on this stage and say, you Klaus Schwab and your world order. We the people were born free, we will stay free, and you and all of your globalist friends, including everyone in this room, can go yourself.
So you may not like what he said or how he said it, but never forget, he spoke the truth to power, and they strutted off the. They tried to do everything they could to keep their pride, but they pridefully strutted off the stage in a form. But you could tell by their body language they were inwardly furious. They were inwardly enraged because this one man dared to tell them who they were, and he didn't lie about it. They are the killers and the monsters against humanity. And they are after your children and my children and our grandchildren. But more than that, they will stop at nothing. Their bloodlust, and believe me, they do have bloodlust. Their bloodlust entices them to devour the human race. And in the secret privacy of their secret occult meetings and secret occult rituals, they like their genetic descendants. Remember, these people of the World Economic Forum, like Klaus Schwab, they are, make no mistake about it, they are the genetic descendants of those ancient civilizations like the Canaanites and the Sumerian culture and the other satanic or Satan worshipping cultures. These are the Illuminati bloodline families. These are the people whose genetic ancestors worshipped Chemosh, who looked like a giant owl, like at the Bilderberg groups, or Ashtaroth, the satanic version of Satan, characterized by sexual immorality worship. And then finally, Baal. Again, Baal and Chemosh, the primary worship ritual is that they burn their babies alive on the red-hot altars of Baal and Chemosh. So the statue of Baal, or the statue of Chemosh, is made out of a metal substance, and the open hands are heated red-hot or white-hot, and the worshippers would place their babies on the burning white-hot hands of Chemosh and Baal, and their babies would burn to death in horrific pain. And they did that because they believed that by worshiping Satan in this way, that Satan would answer their prayer, that Satan would give them military victory or money or whatever they needed. And they believed that by worshiping Satan that Satan would grant them a release of demonic power on their behalf. So they're Satan worshippers. When you read, and I have it in my book, The David Dollar Guide, in my other books, when you study, like I have, what really went on in Jekyll Island, where the world's financial elite, the globalist billionaires, met, a handful of billionaire families, the richest families in the world, met on Jekyll Island, and they apparently, according to the paintings, which provided a kind of historical record of what really occurred on Jekyll Island, they plotted and planned the creation of a fiat currency, which is alchemical magic, which is you print money from nothing. And these super wealthy families, according to these paintings that were hanging there, allegedly, because I haven't seen the paintings, I've heard people describe it to me. And these super wealthy people, there were giants among the super wealthy people, like 9-foot, 12-foot tall giants. And they were murdered and thrown into an open grave. And human beings were murdered and blood sacrificed and thrown into an open grave. And then in the pictures you saw not only a blood sacrifice ritual of human beings, but a blood sacrifice ritual to Satan of Nephilim and Rephaim. And then part of that ritual involved, like it does today, the drinking of human blood ceremonially, and then the actual eating or cannibalism of human flesh. Now, I am not saying this in terms of, I'm saying this is what people allege exists at these satanic ritual sites. These are allegations that are taken seriously because it's brought up so often. And one thing we do know, and one thing we can deduce, that authentic worship of Satan and Lucifer and Chemosh and Baal and Ashtaroth commonly throughout history involved these bloody, cannibalistic, demonic rituals. That part we know is an historical fact. The question of the allegation revolves around, did these billionaire families continue themselves to participate in the satanic blood rituals that used human sacrifice, the drinking of blood, and cannibalism? And that's the part that we need to be careful about, because we know that this was practiced. That was an historical fact. But whether or not the paintings are legitimate, the historical records are legitimate, and the testimony of experts, whether or not it's legitimate or not, that's the question that we, to maintain our integrity, we can't jump to premature conclusions. But ask yourself this. One of the fastest growing religions underground in America right now is Satanism. Aleister Crowley and the Golden Dawn cult. Aleister Crowley taught human sacrifice and blood sacrifice. Okay? These people, these Illuminati bloodline families, claim to be the genetic descendants of the fallen angels and the demons. What do you do with that? These wealthy Illuminati bloodline families are very much involved in the occult rituals. And some Illuminati bloodline family brought a large portion of the actual physical temple of Baal. They brought it from the Middle East intact, and they set it up again on the very guarded grounds of the mayor of New York City's mansion and where he rules from. So the mayor of New York City actually brought a large part of the Temple of Baal, where the Temple of Baal was where they conducted child sacrifice and blood sacrifice. So why would you import a blood ritual Temple of Baal from the Middle East and bring it to the land around the mayor of New York City's house? Why would you do that if you weren't secretly a practitioner of that occult religion? And then one was taken to London, and I believe one was taken to San Francisco. And Manhattan and the related boroughs, some of the most powerful Satanists in the world, and I won't name their names, they're household names, they're entertainers, etc. They live there, okay? Like Maria Abramovic, high-ranking Satanist and satanic witch. All right, so our fight is not against flesh and blood, but against the principalities, the powers, the dark unseen forces of wickedness in heavenly places. God bless you. I'm Paul McGuire. Visit paulmcguire.us.